Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, the One Piece podcast that's climbing the grandest of mountains for the greatest story ever told.
Today we're covering chapter 134, Dr. Kureha.
And folks, this chapter just dropped a name that changes everything. We thought Drum was just an isolated winter island, a pit stop. We were wrong.
A certain pirate crew made a stop here before Wapol fled, a crew we've been waiting to see make their move.
It's the kind of reveal that makes you want to go back and reread everything. If you want to make sure you're on this journey with us when the next big piece of the puzzle drops, maybe float our name to a friend who needs a new podcast crew. It helps us more than you know.
The board is being set. Let's see how the pieces are moving.
All right, let's get into it. We open back with Dalton, who is just floored that the Straw Hats even know who Wapol is.
It's a reasonable reaction. From his perspective, Wapol is a disgraced king who fled a minor island on the Grand Line. The odds of a brand new pirate crew from the East Blue having run into him are astronomically low.
But this is the Straw Hat crew. Their entire journey is built on astronomical odds. And Usopp, in the most casual, utterly unconcerned way possible, just says, "Oh yeah, that guy? He tried to eat our sip a few days ago."
The delivery is perfect. There's no malice, no sense of importance. It's pure, unfiltered Usopp. He's just recounting a weird event from last week. He has no concept of the political gravity of what he's saying.
That's our crew. They just stumble into the business of kings and treat it like another Tuesday. It's like, oh, the former monarch of this nation. Yeah, we met him. Weird dude. Tried to take a bite out of the Mary's figurehead. Anyway, where's the doctor? The disconnect is hilarious, but it's also their greatest strength. They don't get bogged down by titles and politics. But then Vivi, bless her heart, makes a little slip up.
She has been living in the world of politics her entire life. Unlike Usopp, she understands the full weight of every word. And in her attempt to corroborate the story, she says she met Wapol before, at the Levely.
And the look on Dalton's face, you can see the gears turning. Oda is a master of the reaction panel, and this is an all-timer. It's not just surprise. You see the mental flowchart. He goes from confused stranger to, wait, who is this girl? To the final dawning horror of, oh no, I know who she is. He goes from confused to absolutely stunned. He knows.
He knows. He just heard the word Levely, the Reverie, the legendary Council of Kings. It's the single most exclusive political gathering in the entire world, and he connected it to this blue-haired girl traveling with a rookie pirate crew that just arrived on his shores. The secret is out, for him at least.
You can feel the air go out of the room. Vivi tries to play it off immediately, which is just heartbreaking. I saw him in the newspaper. It's such a weak, panicked backpedal. She's trying so hard to just be a crewmate, a friend, but her royal duties, her entire past, just bubble up and betray her. You can feel the panic.
She's been carrying this weight since Whiskey Peak, and it's a testament to her strength that she's held it together this long. Think about it. She's a princess trained in diplomacy and decorum, and she's had to suppress all of that to survive as a bounty hunter and then as a de facto pirate. This slip-up isn't a failure on her part. It's a crack in the dam from the immense pressure she's under.
And Dalton, he sees it. He's a good man. That's the key here. If this were a different kind of character, they might press her, try to use this information. But Dalton sees her discomfort, her fear, and he immediately pivots, explaining exactly who Wapol is. He lets her off the hook.
He has his own burdens. He served under a king he clearly despised. He understands what it's like to be trapped by duty. In that moment, he sees a kindred spirit in Vivi, even if he doesn't know the full story of Alabasta. He sees a royal who cares, who is suffering, and his protective instincts kick in.
He confirms Wapol was the king of Drum, and that he fled the country when pirates attacked, leaving his people completely defenseless.
This is where Vivi's royal blood really shows, not in the slip-up, but in her reaction to this news. The panel shows her face, and it's pure, righteous indignation. She is genuinely, personally offended. How could a king abandon his own people?
Because she would never. Her father would never. We saw Cobra in Alabasta standing his ground, willing to stand against a warlord for his kingdom. Vivi is his daughter. The idea of a selfish, cowardly king is anathema to her. It violates the very core of what she believes leadership is.
It's a direct contrast. The Nefertari family's creed is the country is the people. For Wapol, the country is his own personal treasure chest, and the people are just background noise. Vivi can't even comprehend that mindset.
It's such a perfect character moment. It shows the massive gap between a true leader and a selfish coward, and it puts Dalton right in the middle. He served that coward. You can see the shame on his face as he admits it. He carries the guilt of Wapol's reign.
Which brings us to the pirates who attacked. Dalton gives us the name, the Blackbeard Pirates.
Chills. Just absolute chills. This is the first time we're hearing this name, and it lands with so much weight. It's not just some random crew. This is a name that feels important, like it's going to echo through the rest of the story. Who is this Blackbeard?
And this is our introduction to him. It's not a meeting in a bar or a wanted poster. It's the aftermath of his actions. This is a move on the world stage. They didn't just pass through. They attacked a kingdom, a world government-affiliated kingdom. And they didn't just win. They routed the entire royal guard and sent the king himself running for his life.
And they did it so effectively that the king fled and the entire country just fell apart. This makes the Blackbeard Pirates seem incredibly powerful right out of the gate. What were they even doing here? What did they want from Drum Island?
That's the million-belly question, isn't it? I get the sense Blackbeard isn't the type to raid for simple treasure. He feels like a plotter, a man with a grand long-term vision. His every move seems calculated. So why this specific, medically advanced island? Maybe he was looking for a doctor. It's the most obvious answer. Maybe someone on his crew has a rare disease. Or maybe he was trying to recruit one of the best doctors here.
The timeline is a bit fuzzy, but Dalton implies Wapol fled because Blackbeard attacked. It's possible Blackbeard's arrival prompted Wapol to run, but it feels deeper than that. This is an island known for its medical genius. Could Blackbeard have been looking for research? Maybe something related to devil fruits? We still know so little about how they work. Who would know more about that than the world's best doctors? Whoa, okay, so you're thinking he wasn't here for a doctor. He was here for a secret, a piece of medical lore that could help him in his grand plan. That makes him way scarier. He's not just a brawler, he's a knowledge seeker, and he'll destroy a country to get it. Whatever it was, his actions put this whole country on the path to ruin, and now the architect of that ruin, Wapol, is on his way back.
The timing is impeccable. Just as our crew arrives, needing a doctor for Nami, the former king who drove the country into the ground is returning to reclaim his throne.
Oda doesn't do coincidences. This is a collision course. Everything is being drawn to the peak of Drum Rock.
Speaking of which, we cut to Luffy.
My man is an absolute tank. I don't think we can overstate the sheer physical absurdity of what he's doing here. He's carrying Nami, who's burning up with a fever, up a vertical cliff face, bare-handed, in a blizzard, with no shoes.
He's not even complaining. He's not crying out in pain. He's just focused. Get Nami to a doctor. That's the only thought in his head. His teeth are gritted. His face is a mask of pure determination. All the goofiness is gone. This is Captain Luffy.
It's that single-minded devotion that makes him such a terrifying captain, in the best way. It's not about being the strongest in a fight. It's about having the strongest will. He will not let his crew down, period. The laws of physics, thermodynamics, and gravity can all try to argue, but Luffy will win that argument through sheer stubbornness.
We've seen it before. He starved for days on the Barati for Sanji. When a crewmate is in peril, his focus becomes absolute. And then a new obstacle appears, the lapin.
The giant, fluffy, surprisingly carnivorous-looking rabbits are back, and there's a whole army of them blocking the path. They're adorable and terrifying in equal measure.
They're seeming aggressive. They're not just standing there. They're posturing, baring their teeth. They're standing their ground, right in Luffy's way.
This is a classic One Piece setup. A monster of the week, right? A big fight scene to show off Luffy's strength and resolve. Time for a gum-gum Gatling to clear a path.
I don't think so. Look at the context. Luffy is on his last legs. He's bleeding from his hands and feet. His friend's life is on the line, taking away with every second he wastes. He doesn't have the time or the energy for a random brawl.
You're right. A fight here would feel wrong. It would waste precious time Nami doesn't have. This feels more like a test of character, not of strength. How does he handle an obstacle when brute force isn't the best answer, when his fists can't solve the immediate problem?
Exactly. These aren't just monsters. They're animals native to this mountain. They're part of the island's ecosystem, maybe even guardians of a sort, protecting the summit. This isn't about overpowering them. It's about getting through.
It's about getting past them, for his crew, whatever it takes. I love seeing Luffy in these situations. It's where his creativity really shines. It's not about how hard he can punch, but how clever he can be when his back is against the wall.
While Luffy faces his wall of fluff, we get a quick confirmation of two things happening simultaneously, cutting back and forth to ramp up the tension.
One, Dr. Kureha, the very old witch of the mountain, has apparently come down to a nearby village. The timing is unbelievable. The one person who can help is suddenly within reach, but not for Luffy, who is going in the opposite direction.
And two, Wapol has officially made landfall. He's back on Drum Island. The villain has entered the stage.
Oda is a master conductor. He's moving every single piece into position for the final act of this arc. The Doctor is in the lowlands, the highlands are climbing the highlands, the villain is on the shore. They're all converging on the same spot, Drum Castle.
It creates this incredible dramatic irony and tension. We know the confrontation is coming. Wapol thinks he's returning to a kingdom he can just take back. He has no idea about Dalton's simmering rebellion, Vivi's presence, or, most importantly, the force of nature that is Monkey D. Luffy.
He has no idea that a rubber man carrying the entire weight of his friend's future on his back is currently climbing the very mountain where Wapol's castle sits. Wapol is planning a party, and Luffy's about to crash it in the most spectacular way possible. He is so not ready.
Which leads us to our formal introduction to the Doctor herself.
Dr. Kureha. And what an entrance. It tells you everything. She's in a bar, casually drinking, while a father is on his knees begging for help for his sick kid. The imagery is stark.
The other doctors in the village had already given up. They said the boy was a lost cause, that he had a sickness of the heart.
Which sounds like code for, we have no idea what's wrong with him and we don't want to admit it. It's medical malpractice masked in poetic language. But Kureha takes one look, a single glance, diagnoses him instantly, and gives him a single injection.
And the boy is fine, just like that. His color returns, his fever breaks, he's sitting up. She saved his life when everyone else had written him off.
That's skill. That is pure, undeniable medical genius. You can't argue with the results. She walks in, solves an impossible problem in 5 seconds flat, and proves she's the best doctor on this island, maybe on the whole Grand Line. The legend is real.
Then she asks for her payment. She holds up one finger and demands a fortune.
The entire village loses their minds. The father's furious. He goes from grateful to enraged in a heartbeat. He thinks she's a monster, a ghoul profiting from their misery, an extortionist holding his son's life for ransom.
But Kureha is completely unfazed. She doesn't flinch, she doesn't argue or defend herself. She just turns to the little boy she just saved, the only person whose opinion seems to matter in that moment.
And the kid with tears in his eyes just says thank you. He gets it. The adults, caught up in the pride and the money, see an extortionist. The kid sees the woman who saved his life. His life is worth more than any amount of money. It's such a powerful moment.
It tells you everything you need to know about her philosophy. She doesn't care about public opinion. She doesn't care if you think she's a witch or a demon. She cares about the result. She saved a life. Payment is part of the transaction. She's not running a charity. She's providing an unparalleled service, and she knows its value.
It reminds me a little of the harsh reality of the Grand Line. Nothing is given freely. Everything has a price. Survival, safety, even health.
She embodies that principle, and her little assistant standing right next to her through all of this small blue-nosed reindeer wearing a little pink hat. He's just watching everything unfold.
He's not just a pet, that much is clear. He's standing on two legs, and you can see the intelligence and concern in his eyes. He's observing, learning. He's clearly her apprentice. He watches the diagnosis, the treatment, the argument over payment. He's a student in the field.
A reindeer doctor's apprentice. Okay, this island just keeps getting weirder, and I am all for it. That little guy, there's gotta be a story there, a massive one. Why is he walking on 2 feet? Why the hat? Why a reindeer in the first place? Is this a devil fruit? It has to be, right?
His name is Tony Chopper, and I suspect he is just as much of a medical prodigy as Kureha is. His presence next to her isn't just for show, it's a sign of her approval. She wouldn't keep an incompetent assistant.
So you have Kureha, the abrasive, super genius doctor who saves lives and charges a fortune, and you have Chopper, this mysterious, intelligent reindeer assistant. This is the medical team Luffy is desperately trying to reach.
It's not going to be a simple transaction. She's not a doctor you can just hire. Luffy can't just offer her money because he doesn't have any. He can't threaten her because she seems completely fearless. You have to earn her respect.
Luffy showing up covered in blood and snow, demanding she help his friend, is probably not going to go over well. He's going to have to prove himself. He's going to have to prove that Nami's life is worth her time.
He's climbing a massive sheer cliff face with no gear while carrying his friend in a blizzard. I think he's up to the challenge of proving his dedication.
Oh, absolutely. Kureha is about to meet the most stubborn force of nature on the Grand Line. This is going to be good. And before we get into what might happen next, Oda's author comment this week was pretty cool.
He said he's been browsing illustration websites from around the world.
And he's just blown away by all the talent out there. It's so wholesome. The greatest comic artist of our generation is still out there on the internet getting inspired by other people's art, just like any other fan. It's a great reminder that creativity is a huge interconnected world, not a lonely tower.
It really is a big place full of talent, and he's still humble enough to recognize and appreciate it.
Speaking of talent and big ideas, if you have a theory about why Blackbeard really came to Drum Island or what Kureha's deal is, drop it in the comments. We love digging through your theories after we record.
All right, predictions for chapter 135. What do you have, Franky?
Okay, first up, Luffy and the Lappins. He's not going to fight them. That's a waste of energy and time he absolutely does not have. I think he's going to try to reason with them, they'll attack, and in his desperation to get away, he's going to accidentally cause a small avalanche, either by punching the cliffside in frustration or just slipping. The noise and the snow will scare the Lappins away. It'll clear the path, but also make the final stretch of the climb even more dangerous, maybe burying him in snow near the summit.
A solution that creates a bigger problem. That feels very Luffy. He solves the immediate issue with a chaotic, unintended consequence that he'll have to deal with later. Okay, I like that.
Second, Wapol's first move. He's not going to go after the villages. He's a coward and he knows Dalton is down there and Dalton is popular. He's going to go straight for Drum Castle at the top of the mountain. He thinks it's his and he probably assumes it's empty. He wants to sit on his throne, eat some of the castle walls, and declare himself king again, completely unaware of who is about to knock on his front door, or rather, climb in through the window.
A collision at the summit. That makes sense. He's arrogant and foolish. He'll go to the symbol of his power first, not to the people he's meant to rule.
And third, back down in the village with the B-plot. Dalton now knows Vivi is royalty. He is a man of honor. His first instinct is going to be to protect her at all costs. I predict he is going to try and go fight Wapol himself, a solo charge to end this once and for all. But Usopp and Vivi will have to actively stop him. They'll convince him that a head-on charge is a suicide mission and that they need a real plan, setting them up for a more strategic role in the coming battle, maybe organizing the villagers.
So you're sidelining Dalton's direct combat role for now in favor of a more strategic one led by Usopp and Vivi. Interesting. It gives them a crucial part to play while Luffy handles the main event. Okay, my turn.
Hit me with the lore.
My first prediction is about Dr. Kureha's fee. We'll get a hint that the money isn't for her. She's ancient and lives on a remote mountain. She has no use for millions of belly. I think she's funding something. Maybe it's for massive amounts of medical research or maintaining some kind of secret facility on the island, or even stockpiling medical supplies for a future catastrophe. The exorbitant price is a necessity for a greater purpose, not personal greed.
Ooh, I like that. It recontextualizes her entire personality. It's not greed, it's purpose. She's a jerk for a good reason. Okay, what else?
Second, the first meeting between Luffy and Kureha will not be friendly. Luffy will arrive at the castle, exhausted, desperate, and probably have frozen. He'll collapse at her feet and demand she help Nami. Kureha, seeing this belligerent, bleeding pirate who just broke into her home, will refuse or give him an impossible condition, something like, bring me the heart of the mountain, or some other ridiculous test of his will, before she'll even look at Nami.
A classic mythical quest from the Witch of the Mountain. That fits her character perfectly. A final test to prove his worthiness before he earns her help. Wow, that's good. I can totally see that happening.
And for my third prediction, a bit more specific. When Luffy finally gets Nami to the castle, Kureha won't be the first person to treat her. Following your prediction, Luffy might collapse just inside the entrance, buried in snow. The first one to find them will be Chopper. And we will see his incredible medical knowledge firsthand as he drags Nami out of the cold and immediately begins to stabilize her, proving his own skill before Kureha even enters the room. It will establish him as a true doctor in his own right, not just an apprentice.
That's it. That's the perfect way to show, not just tell us how skilled he is. The little reindeer is the first line of medical defense. That's super solid. It gives him an immediate moment to shine and justify his place in the story.
We shall see. The stage is set for a confrontation on multiple fronts. The battle for Nami's life and the battle for a nation's soul.
It's all coming together. The doctor, the disease, and the devil himself are all on the same snowy peak. This is going to be a battle for the soul of Drum Kingdom. Join us next time as we see who takes the first shot.